Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships, where in this Wednesday edition video, viewer discretion is advised. Now, I had originally planned to do an Armored Warfare video today, but there's like a massive update for my Armored Warfare account, and I don't want to deal with that today. But in this video of viewer discretion advised, there are many ways I thought about titling this video, but I think the viewer discretion advised is best because this is a game where we have super CVs and there's also submarines, and there's multiple ways I thought about titling this video, but the battle is going to be decided because of the aircraft carriers. It's not going to be because of the subs, but it's going to be one of the eagles, one of the two eagles, whether it's the eagle on our team or the eagle on enemy team, who's going to decide how this battle ends in terms of who's victorious and who is defeated. Now, I think I probably need to explain what just occurred on the screen and the 4 reports that I just gave. So I do this in addition, I learned it from other players, and then I quite like the tradition. I don't do it every single battle, and that's usually because I don't remember to. Where I do something where I call it the CV tax or the submarine tax. So basically, if it happened to land in the battle, your enemy team is playing a submarine, or my team's playing a submarine, a team player, or an enemy team player is playing a CV, or a team player is playing a CV, I report you for playing poorly. Now, karma doesn't honestly do a whole lot here in World of Warships. It's really more like the AFK or the misbehavior in chat. Particularly with misbehavior in chat, you have to usually submit a ticket in for that. And you get these karma points, and they really, in my experience of 4.5 years of the game, unless someone really has some actual factual evidence, it doesn't really do anything in towards the game. Like I don't remember how much karma. I think I have several hundred karma, 500, 600, 700. I don't remember. So if you play a CV or a submarine, I will report you regardless of what team you're on. Now, if I play a submarine or a CV, I also expect to be reported, right? It's quite typical in the game that you'll see these types of things. But this is a battle where we're going to be setting up here in the Conqueror and trying to have a good game here. Just have to see how it goes. So if it's cringy for you to watch CV players, CVs decide how the game ends, then this is viewer discretion advised. But I'm going to talk more about the eagle in this game. I've never really talked about CVs. People have like, hey, Flimsy, do an upgrade commander build video of the CV, and something will have to have terribly gone wrong for me to do that, because I'm not a skilled CV player. Like, I had my stats back up to average in terms of random win rate, but then as the player base gets better and better with CVs, then my win rate becomes worse and worse and worse because there is a newer average in the game in terms of win rate that's just higher than my play average with aircraft carrier, right? But I'm not the guy to tell you how to play CVs expertly or like Unicum levels in this game. And my biggest thing that I've always had between CVs and subs, I despise CVs much more than submarines, and this game will kind of point to one of those reasons. My main thing is because a CV player never has to sacrifice his health pool in order to attack you, and that's typically how, historically speaking, that's how the CV games went, unless it's a CV versus CV fight, or whatever. And most of those battles took place on something like, an ocean map, right? Where you don't have islands, where a lot of the game, all the maps except one map in this game have islands. And so typically what happens is that your CV player or the enemy CV player, they both find an island up on the A, B line or IJ line, and they park behind it, and they never, even if enemy ships close in on them, they won't be spotted till like they're right up on them going around the corner. So a CV player never has to sacrifice or per se risk his hit point pool in order to kill you and do a lot of damage. And the second reason I don't like CVs is because of the spotting. I think something like mini-map spotting for CVs would be much better in this game. As this is a pretty slow battle to start off here in Conquer. But something like mini-map spotting I would be much more comfortable with versus, you know, how spotting mechanics work right now, currently, here in World Warships in May of 2024. So, I actually didn't know as much information about the Eagle as I did until today, as I was doing some research looking into it, because I really wanted to understand the ship more and kind of understand why I there's a lot of expressions I can use here. I'm not going to say them, but basically why I get my butt handed to me, okay, by the Eagle, the super carrier for the British line. And that is because you have 5 different attack squadrons. I did not know the Eagle had actually 5 different attack squadrons. So the type of attack squadrons you get the tactical rockets, the torpedo bombers, the tactical torpedo bombers, the dive bombers, the tactical dive bombers, and it is just an immense pain to deal with the Eagle. Now, when I was looking at the WoW's wikis in terms of the pros and cons, it's actually kind of humorous because there's only 2 cons listed, which being the tactical planes do not regenerate rocket boosters, and the standard planes are more focused on dealing damage over time instead of alpha damage in like terms of one-time strikes. But the pros listed for this CV are tactical planes have high speed and deal solid damage. Standard planes have rocket boosters. Planes have high speed and health, making them effective at dealing with anti-air. And then, as we pick up our first kill on the enemy Conqueror with the fire. And tactical planes have a cooldown, but are unlimited in use. And 5 different plane types in total. So it's like, dang, son. So let's talk about those tactical jet squadrons. So the Eagle can launch these tactical jet squadrons in addition to the regular aircraft. So as I look upon this here, they cannot regenerate their engine boosts, and they have worse health and concealment than regular squadrons. However, they are extremely fast and they have powerful armaments. The tactical jet squadrons are not prepared for launch at the start of the battle and take several months before they are ready. These squadrons also do not return to the carrier. The full preparation time must elapse again before more can be launched. So if I try to look that up, for example, with the torpedo dive bombers, they take a long restoration time of 360 seconds. The tactical torpedo bombers, let's see here if I can find the restoration time, 275 seconds. The tactical rockets, they have 175 seconds. And then you're going to be cycling your torpedo bombers and your standard dive bombers in the meantime, is basically how that works. Now, the tactical attack squadrons, there's 3 extremely fast jets armed with 20 HE rockets with low penetration. And these guys can have a max speed of 354 knots. Now, this is me looking at WoW Shipbuilder without any thing added in, so I don't know if you can technically get them faster because I'm not a CV player, I'm not a CV main. Yeah, and the preparation time of 175 seconds. The tactical torpedo squadrons are 2 extremely fast jets armed with 2 high damage short range torpedoes. And then these guys, how fast do they go? They go max 326 knots, and their damage, the torpedo itself, can do 7,800 damage. Okay, so that's a big oof, and that's 4 torpedoes total. And don't worry, you're going to see that here in the game. And then you have the tactical bomber squadrons. They're 2 extremely fast jets. So again, these are jets, not just regular planes, but jets. Each armed with 9 powerful HE bombs. And these HE bombs, I'll pull them up. The speed can go 326 knots. Max speed cruising is 163. I should probably say what the cruising speed is also. And then the damage that these suckers do is 6,400. And these are a high explosive, and they can pin 52mm and a 36% fire chance. And then their preparation time is 360 seconds. So basically, a CV player, and this CV player on enemy team, he's a really good player. Our CV player, I think he's a pretty good player too, in terms of just what I've been able to see in this game, because they both really seem to know what they're doing, and you'll see that as time goes on. But as you get closer to a CV, his damage output increase more and more and more. Like Nakhimov is a classic example of that. The closer and closer you get to a Nakhimov, the more his damage output increases. Now you can see even on the mini map, you can see the tactical attack squadron coming right now. Like look how fast he's flying across the map. So basically he's flying all the way over to the 1 line. He's doing really well. He gets to utilize some of the islands. And then he's coming in on the broadside of myself and the Conde. And our Conde is going to have a really good game. And so it's really, there's not much time that elapses in between his strikes, because he's actually, as you're going to see here shortly, he's sitting down on the I2 line. Now this isn't a soapbox game for me to just be crying about CVs. I want to make that known. This is just me just sharing my personal opinions, my personal perspective on one of the reasons why I just don't really like CVs and how they're currently set up in the game, but also really difficult to deal with. So as myself and the Conde push up here, kind of realize that this is a bad scenario. We didn't get the kill on the GIGABYTE. And then we see the Eagle. That's when I'm like, oh yeah, he's definitely back in behind the island. My Conde is about to die. You know, this is a really bad situation for me to be in. And I was playing pretty passively there at the beginning of the battle. But then the enemy team, they were playing just as passive as well as me. You can see they're back here on the HIJ line. So it ended up being bad for me to push, but I felt confident pushing with the Conde, which is why I even moved up in the first place, as we take a big hit there from the GIGABYTE. But we have the super heal. So right now you see we're at 17,000 hit points. So we're going to get a lot of that health back in a moment. But one of the things that talks about the pro of the planes, as we then kill the GIGABYTE, is that they have a large hit point pool. So here, you know, this carry player, he does a fantastic job, right? He comes over the island. Our A doesn't get the long range off. It just only activates there. So I should have actually prioritized my A sector on the starboard side of the ship. So we eat 1 torpedo there. You know, we slowed down. We avoided taking the other 2 torpedoes, but because we slowed down, we're a big clumsy dumb battleship. Now we're going to take a full set of 3, but thankfully no floods. So now we're at 40,000, and here he comes again with the planes. And so now we're going to try to turn away, but in this instance, I really don't foresee us being able to avoid the torpedoes. Because my idea here is I want to disengage to save points for our team, because you can see right now we have all 3 caps. So if I can save, live, and give our team more points, that will help us, because this isn't a really... The situation isn't looking so great for us, is the way I would phrase it right now, because you can see our 2 enemy destroyers versus one of our friendly destroyers in the middle of Bravo, and then even more torpedo bombers. So these are the tactical torpedo bombers coming in on me now as we're flooding. And I didn't go ahead and use the repair party because I was like, well, CV's going to come and strike me again, so let me just kind of hold off on that. But the Conqueror has gone out even wide, and it didn't make a difference, basically, so we could have used our DCP earlier. That just sucked. So that CV player did really well. You know, part of the role is when you're a CV player is you want to focus on isolated ships. So, you know, the Conde is pretty low. Enemy team takes out the Conde. As you can also, you saw that the CV, the Eagle player, was focusing on whittling our friendly Conde down, and then he just focuses on me. And that's exactly what you should do as a carrier player. You focus on isolated targets. And you see our Eagle is now focusing the enemy Montana. That's kind of chasing our Trump right now, as he's also dropping these HE airstrikes. So both of these CV players actually seem to know what they're doing quite well. And I can definitely say that of our friendly, the enemy Eagle. And even our friendly Eagle is going to complement the enemy Eagle, that he knows what he's doing. So now this is where we're at. So we've lost our friendly destroyer in Bravo. So now Bravo's being flipped, but we still have the points lead for now. So right now things are looking points-wise in favor of us. as our Eagle takes out the enemy Montana and increases that points difference. But it was a 2v4, now it's a 2v3. So now, as I'm communicating in chat, I'm talking with the Trump, it's likely Shima's going to probably go for C, because I would foresee that Eagle and probably that other enemy Conqueror is going to sail down into Alpha. So if our Trump can intercept the enemy Shima, so we still have some points ticking in, then that's great. Because when you get matches like this, it really starts to become a points game. And it's going to be really important that you try to protect, if Eagle's dropping fighters, which you see, he's dropping a fighter for the Trump as Trump moves up towards Bravo, towards Charlie Cap. But unfortunately, our Trump player is not quite close enough to our friendly fighters. So this is bad. So I just go and type in chat that, hey, Shima's in C. And the enemy Eagle has detected our friendly Trump. Our friendly Eagle detects the enemy Shimakaze. So basically, it's an opportunity for Trump to go ahead and open up here. As Eagle just misses the Shimakaze as he kind of turned and drifted out there. So I'm like, hoping this, yeah, there's we go. Now we see the salvos from the Trump. It looks like he's firing AP rather than HE. So that needs to be an ammo switch there. So you're kind of at the mercy of the carrier players in this battle, because this is where the spotting comes in. So now you see this salvo coming down range from the enemy Conqueror on our Trump, and he actually connects there and takes about 2,000 hit points off of the Trump, just because of the spotting, despite being across the map. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to stop the Shimakaze from flipping Charlie, with the Trump being focused by enemy CV, and then now you see enemy Conquerors on A. So now we have no more points coming in. And once the enemy team... oh, he's getting pretty lucky. Okay, now he took some hits there. But enemy team is setting up well. They're going to have a lot of points coming in, as now the Eagle is taking out the Trump. And so the only reason I blacklist the enemy CV in this situation is I'm annoyed at how well he's playing. So it's not out of spite. It's just that I'm so annoyed that the enemy CV player is like being really good and making all the big plays here. So now it's just down to our friendly Eagle. So now we get to see some CV versus CV action. So our Eagle is basically going to be trying to find the Shimakaze player. So basically the Eagle can go for the enemy Shima, or he can go for the enemy Conqueror, as he does a blind drop there. So, this is, the Shimakaze is playing this really well in just being able to stay in the smoke. And then now the enemy Eagle is going to start focusing our Eagle. So we're going to have to see what happens there. It's kind of annoying also, I would say, with the tactical squadrons. Yes, they have a long restoration time, but you never deplete planes. It's back in the day, or the RTS carrier days, you could actually deplete enemy CV's planes, or CV players would just be completely depleted of their play, so they actually had to be really wise. There was no fly zones like a Des Moines, a Montana, and I think even like a Minotaur back in the day. There's no fly zones, and you could play fighter versus fighter intercept games and completely shut out an enemy CV if you played really well. And not a lot of people played carriers back in the day because it was just really difficult. So now our friendly Eagle is going to shift focus to the enemy Conqueror, and we have 45 seconds on the clock, and the enemy team is about to pass us in points. So our CV drops the torpedoes. Now he gets his tactical dive bombers off, and because in the maximum speed of these tactical dive bombers, as I'm going to pull up, remind us all of their speed. Max speed is 326 knots. So even though he just dropped him at about the 46, 47 second mark, we're down to that 17 second mark, and he's just about to fly over him, and he only needs to get rid of 1,800 hit points. He gets the kill, and that's going to flip the points just back into our advantage. So I was about to put GG, like enemy team, it's a good game, like they did well, sucks. But then our Eagle comes in clutch, as you see there in chat. So I do compliment our Eagle back to get him out of being, so his karma did not end in a -1, it ended in status quo, at least on my part. But yeah, this was a very frustrating game to play. It wasn't super enjoyable, but it was a learning experience even for myself to see two talented CV players playing in the battle. You know, you can hate on CVs all day, but there's also a lot you can learn from them in terms of just how they play, how they focus, and how they might end up coming after you, and then trying to play accordingly. But you know, you can't really prevent a cross drop, you know, like we had done to us, so on and so forth. So even though we didn't feel like we did a lot that game, we still landed second on the team with our Conde there on top, and their Eagle getting 4 kills, so he killed a third of our enemy team, or a third of our team. And we took 153,000 damage also, by the way. Oh boy, yeah. So yeah, so viewer discretion advised, so you kind of got to see, but I think this is a video I've been sitting on for a really long time. I think we'll actually see the date. It pops back up here on the screen. I've been sitting on it for a long time, and you know, because I just gotten away from Thailand, I didn't have so many videos sitting around, and this was one of them. Yeah, this was back in October of last year. It's that scarring that I still remember this battle and game. But just a cool clutch win there at the end by our friendly CVs. So the CVs, you know, they really dictated the outcome in the course of this battle. And yes, you can say historically they did too. But there's a little bit too much of the video game BS tweaking that I think Wargaming does on CVs here in the game. So anyhow, with that being said, I don't know if I can say I hope you enjoyed this battle. But maybe you get to know more of my own thoughts on CVs and that in the game. I don't know. Still, viewer discretion advised it is. So if you liked today's battle, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, and soon, very soon, we'll be having our 2,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you're not subscribed and you want to be a part of the FLT community and be a part of that giveaway, make sure you are subscribed. So until next time, take care.